It was a high-level broadcast from the High Archon Overseers, the kind of cold, binary static that leaked down from the top-tier suites where the real players lived, hitting the grunts and void stewards in the hab blocks like a bucket of ice water. Now that the Human Federation had signed their souls over to the Astra-Concordance, the Overseers were bracing for a flood of fresh meat across the fleet's tiered hulls. To stop the inevitable friction from turning into a full-blown bloodbath, Citadel Command, digging through the jagged data scraps of previous encounters, pelted the grunts with this field guide for surviving the human condition without losing an eye. Advice 1. The biostatic of the hibernation loop. Like every other piece of wetware in the Concordance, the human is hardwired into a periodic system crash they call sleep. It's a messy, internal data scrub where the day's high-velocity input gets processed into long-term storage. In this state, the human becomes a motionless slab of meat. Motor functions go dark and the sensors retract into the skull, leaving the body about as responsive as a bricked deck. To the low-rent maintenance types, the kind of guys whose cortical stacks flicker like bad neon, this lack of movement looks like a flat line. Because of this, the morgue jockeys are mandated to run a full diagnostic on any human corpse before they slide it into the deep freeze. Footnote 1. You could, if you're looking for a Darwin Award, kick a human out of the loop manually, but Citadel Command advises against it unless the ship is actively venting atmosphere. A sleep-deprived human is a glitchy, high-tension nightmare. Their performance metrics tank, and they tend to carry a lethal grudge against anyone who disrupts their downtime. Footnote 2. If you absolutely have to wake one, Citadel suggests bribing them with coffee, a stimulant-heavy sludge that acts as a temporary patch for their mood stabilizers and keeps them from tearing your throat out. Footnote 3. Note 1. To prevent the meat handlers from accidentally snuffing a human who's just recharging, Citadel has circulated a high-res image of a Varkasite male, a species that actually looks dead on a good day, just to clarify the difference. Note 2. High Archon Overseers aren't looking for a repeat of the mess where a twitchy, sleep-starved engineer started recoding the FTL drives while his brain was misfiring. The guy accidentally cracked reality and birthed a singularity of flapjack matter, a physics-defying disaster of syrup and heat that the Concordance really didn't have the budget to clean up. Note 3. While the lab rats haven't fully mapped the long-term damage this black sludge does to alien nervous systems, its tactical necessity for humans is absolute. Expect to see it in every vending rig on the deck. Advice 2. Digestive warfare. Humans are biological multitools, packing stomach acids corrosive enough to melt through most carbon-based substrates. Citadel warns that you should never touch human rations without a chemical sweep. Their food is loaded with capsaicin, calcium salts, and gluten, substances that'll liquefy the internal organs of more refined species. Then there's the dessert, a concentrated glucose hit they take at the end of a meal. For non-humans, it's basically liquid crack. The High Archon Overseers have issued a hard no-go for Varkasites near human suites. Nobody wants to see a Varkasite on a sugar high trashing a multi-billion credit hull like a crazed gladiator. Advice 3. The sanctity of the protein slab. Human sandwiches are high-demand trade items, but Citadel's advice is simple: don't be a thief. High Archon Overseers won't hear your complaints when the human you rob decides to use your face as a punching bag or laces their next lunch with high-grade laxatives. Advice 4. High-octane intoxicants. By Concordance law, getting loaded on duty, especially on human alcohol, is a fast track to an airlock. Human booze is a high-concentration ethanol burn that makes Union spirits feel like distilled water. Citadel says don't touch the stuff unless it's been cut 10-1. Some humans have built up a terrifying tolerance for this poison. If you're stupid enough to enter a drinking contest with one, make sure your inheritance paperwork is filed and witnessed before the first round. Also, be aware that their booze is often clear and looks exactly like water. Overseers want all deck bosses to sniff every bottle. We aren't buying the "I work better when I'm loaded" line. Humans are natural-born liars, and Citadel isn't interested in a sequel to the Kronos breach incident. Advice 5. The card sharp's edge. Humans have a predatory instinct for cards, specifically poker and blackjack. Don't put your credits on the table unless you're looking to go bankrupt. The human is a professional liar, reading your microexpressions like a telemetry feed while keeping their own face as cold as a dead server. Their brains function like high-speed processors, counting cards, and calculating odds in the background without needing a hard link to a computer. Since gambling isn't technically a crime yet, the Overseers won't be bailing you out when you lose your entire contract's worth of credits to a human in a single shift. Advice 6. The fragile meat suit. Humans are born without plating, just soft, vulnerable flesh stretched over a calcium frame. To keep from freezing or bleeding out, they wrap themselves in clothes. These fabrics are a psychological firewall. They only strip down for people they trust, or people they're about to kill. Don't ask them to take it off, and don't peek in their showers. Citadel is drowning in sexual harassment suits, and the Concordance is tired of paying out the settlements. Advice 7. The Apex Companion. Ever since the Omniverse vs. Captain Elias Thorne, humans have a legal right to bring their pets. But don't expect goldfish. Humans are biologically incapable of basic self-preservation instincts, meaning they'll keep anything from a rodent to an apex predator in their cabin. If you're under half a meter tall, stay the hell away from a human's pet. When a human says it just wants to play, they're usually wrong. Just be glad the courts blocked them from bringing domesticated monsters from the colony worlds on board. Advice 8. Audio pollution. Get ready for a surge in human music. It triggers a neurochemical response that makes them sing or dance. It's not a seizure, it's just a human being a human. Citadel has managed to get some of the high aggro stuff like metal and hip-hop restricted to private quarters, but you'll still hear the low-frequency thrumming through the vents. Advice 9. The Darknet Sinkhole. The High Archon Overseers have put a firewall on the human internet, but any script kiddie can bypass it. Citadel's advice: don't. The trauma you find in the unfiltered deep web isn't covered by Concordance Medical, and if you let a human virus into the ship's mainframe, the repair fees are coming out of your paycheck. The Overseers are actually looking into buying a human OS because their software is light years ahead of ours. Apparently, they looked at our primary logic gates and called them Windows Vista, and they weren't being complimentary. High Archon Overseers hope this list keeps the casualty rate down. If you've survived a human encounter and have some data to share, upload it to the Overseers or leave a tag below. The High Archon Overseers acknowledge your contract.